73% of Americans are either overweight or obese. There is nothing wrong with your willpower and you don't lack discipline. What you're lacking is a system to manage your weight. I know, because I spent 28 years in the yo-yo cycle before I finally cracked the code. My name is Eric and I'm an engineer who had to completely rebuild my life after going through an $800 million life that sent me into addiction, depression, obesity and unemployment. Today I'll walk you through the protocol that I use to stop counting calories and worrying so much about what I eat all the time, while losing 24 kilos, staying lean, building muscle, and still enjoying my life. Alright, so I wanted to start off by talking about dieting and why it doesn't work in the long term. So when I was in my late teens, I weighed around 80 kilos and I had like a decent amount of body fat, but I wanted to get really lean really fast. So what I did is that I went on a really extreme diet and I basically had only chicken and rice 2 meals a day and oatmeal with protein in the morning, and really focused on counting my calories and managing those. And like, of course it worked. Like, I lost a lot of weight because I was in a caloric deficit. But the reason why it didn't work in the long term and why it actually hurt me really much was that I not only regained the weight, but also in the end weighed a lot more afterwards than when I started. So I just wanted to illustrate this to show how metabolic adaptation works and how it was for me and how it is for a lot of people. So I started around 80 kilos, around here. And when I started going on a caloric deficit, of course, I dropped in weight down to 73 kilos. But what I did then is that I went back to eat exactly like I did before. And since I quit the diet, not only did I gain back the 80 kilos of weight that I had before, all of a sudden I was at 87 kilos. So this was in the span of only a few months. So it took me roughly 40 days to lose those 7 kilos to start with, and it took me just over a month to go from 73 kilos to 87 kilos. And why that is because my metabolism, which is illustrated in this line, was at a certain level. But when I started losing weight, it naturally went down. And when I went back to eating as normal again, what happened was that my body lagged behind. So this is what I like to call the red zone. And when you are in the red zone, this is where it's most dangerous, because you are really happy that you have lost all that weight. But when you start eating normal again, like you did before, since your metabolism is such lower, you will instantly gain that weight back. And since it's lagging behind, you will naturally regain that weight. So this is like the big reason why losing weight typically is quite easy. Like, a lot of people have managed to lose weight, but most people find out that it's really hard to keep that weight off, and that's has a lot to do with metabolic adaptation. If we back like a year ago, when I was really heavy, I was 103 kilos and I wanted to lose a lot of weight really fast. I had been vegan for several years, but since I knew that the chicken and rice diet had worked for me in the past, that's what I resorted to. So I started doing that and I lost a lot of weight really fast, but I also felt like complete shit, and I wanted to experiment more and see if there were a better solution to my problems. So I started experimenting and over time developed a protocol that has really worked for me and has helped me to not only manage my weight, but I have built a lot of muscle during my journey. So what I would suggest for you is that you start writing down what you eat during a day, and do that for a full week. And not only write down what you eat, but write down roughly the quantities and the time stamp for each meal. So for example, in the morning you can write down that you had a bowl of oatmeal and a protein shake, or and a glass of milk, or whatever you had for breakfast, and you write down the time, which could be 7 a.m. Simply by writing down what you eat actually tends to make you eat healthier food, because you have to confront yourself with what you're putting inside your body. So there was actually a client whom I asked to do this, and he started writing down what he was eating during the week. But after the week had passed and I wanted to review what he had eaten, he had actually deleted everything in his notes app, and that was because he wasn't comfortable with confronting everything that he was eating. And this was just really powerful for me to see, because if you can't confront what you eat, like you're not gonna make improvements in your diet. And there's actually studies that show that simply by writing down what you eat tends to enforce healthier habits, if you are comfortable with actually what you are putting inside your body. Because it doesn't really feel good, like if you are chugging down like mountains of soda and chips during night, and you have to write it down at the end. So that tends to make you skip that. Simply writing down the things that you eat during the week will help you a lot, and will also be helpful for the steps that I'm gonna introduce in the next sections of the video. A rule that has been really helpful for me is to eat more, not less. It sounds really counterintuitive, but what I mean is that you wanna focus on eating more of the good stuff instead of focusing on decreasing the bad stuff. Because if you focus on just decreasing and limiting your choices, you're gonna feel very deprived. But if you instead focus on the things that are healthy for you and that you get to eat and that you are allowed to eat them, suddenly like your mind shifts a lot. And what you want to focus on are as much unprocessed whole foods as possible, paired with foods that have a lot of protein in it. And that's going to make you really full generally during the day. So I'm going to explain a few of the reasons for why that is. There's actually a study I really liked where they compared different foods, and what they found was actually that the potato where it came out on top when it comes to the most satiating food. So when it comes to whole foods, like let's just first start with the definition of whole foods. But what we're typically talking about are fruits, vegetables, legumes, whole grains. Nuts and seeds, of course, belongs to this food group. If you are losing weight though, I would keep it in moderation, just because it's very high in fat and therefore high in calories. But nuts and seeds should definitely be included in a healthy diet. Another thing that whole foods help with is to regulate blood sugar. So a really easy example for this is if you compare a glass of orange juice with an actual orange. If you drink the orange juice, not only will it enter your bloodstream a lot quicker because there's nothing to digest, but it will also raise your blood sugar. So your blood sugar levels will go from high to really low, and you will feel down and you will feel the craving to eat something again. Whilst if you actually had the orange, it takes more time for the body to digest it and your blood sugar level will be more level. Another thing when with whole foods is that it tends to be more volume per calorie. So compare that to having a cheeseburger versus having broccoli. Extreme example, of course, but you're gonna have to eat a shit ton of broccoli in order to get fat and get to a calorie surplus. And the thing why volume works so effectively is that it acts on your stretch receptors in your stomach. So the stretch receptors are an important mechanism in order to control how much we eat. Another thing is fiber. So whole foods tend to be higher in fiber than processed food. And fiber actually makes you feel fuller because it ups the hormones that make you feel satiated, and it lowers the hormones that make you feel hungry. So fiber as a whole is king. Like, eat a lot of fiber. Most people are deficient in fiber, so if there's something that I would obsess about when it comes to managing my weight, it wouldn't be protein, even though it's very important and we will get to that, but fiber is king. Another thing when it comes to whole foods is that it increases chewing. So generally you have to chew more when eating whole foods versus processed foods, and the chewing itself signals to the brain that food is coming, and this also lowers the pace of eating, which gives your body more time to send signals to your brain while you're eating that you're feeling fuller. All right, so now I want to talk a little bit about protein. And from a satiating perspective, in order to make you feel full, it's actually really efficient, because if you compare between carbs, protein and fat, protein is actually the most satiating per calorie. But not only that, like of course we all know that protein is really important for building and maintaining muscle. And there's a lot of debate between like different influencers and creators and coaches about how much protein you should eat. And I think that a lot of them are over exaggerating, like how much you really need. So I just wanted to show you a graph here. The Food and Nutrition Board of the Institute of Medicine and the American College of Sports Medicine, like that's a mouthful, but basically, keeping it between 1.2 and 1.7 grams of protein per kilo of body weight is gonna be more than enough for you to sustain the level of protein that you need. But I will say, like, some disclaimers to this, like some people can actually benefit from more protein if you have very good genetics, or if you are on a very rigid training regime. Or, of course, if you're on anabolic steroids, like that's a different ball game. I'm not gonna assume that you are on anabolic steroids, but if you are, like you will want to get more protein in order to take the most benefit from that. So, good sources of protein. Like, I'm vegan, so my go-to sources are tofu, tempeh, seitan, legumes like lentils, beans, etc., soy milk. If you're omnivore, like of course poultry, like chicken and turkey, lean meats, fish and eggs. And if you're a carnivore, like I don't know what the fuck you're doing, get out of here, like you, that's not healthy, don't. So another really effective way to lose weight is to reset your taste buds. So the thing about our taste buds is that they're continually being switched out by our body, and within the next 14 days your taste buds will be completely new. So I challenge you to stay away from all junk food, including sugar, sweets, ice cream, candy, chips. And yes, that also includes artificial sweeteners like Coke Zero, etc. And this is not forever. Like I will say for myself that I can swallow a pint of ice cream faster than you can say Ben and Jerry. This challenge really shifts your perspective on what should taste good or not, because there's a good chance that you are not even enjoying eating fruit right now, and that's because your taste buds are so freaking destroyed that you need really sweet things like sodas, energy drinks, etc. To satisfy those cravings. Next thing, limiting your eating window. And limiting your eating window is gonna make it easier for you to eat less calories, because less time to eat food generally means consuming less calories. And this also enforces eating more solid meals. So what a lot of people are doing wrong is that they eat too light meals, and they compensate by eating snacks like during the day because they feel hungry all the time. So it's a lot better to try to have 2 to 3 very solid meals during the day, and limit snacking in order to limit your calorie intake. This also helps to regulate blood sugar. And what I also really recommend is that shifting your calories to the earlier in the day, because if you eat your last meal at least 3 to 4 hours before going to bed, that lowers your core body temperature, and that's gonna make it easier to sleep as well. This also helps with curbing those late night snacks, because if you are like me and most people, we usually get like those really high cravings during the night. And if you can limit your last meal to 3 to 4 hours before bed, effectively eliminating those late night snacks, it's gonna be really helpful in managing your weight. So I just wanted to touch a little bit on alcohol as well. I have a fairly complicated relationship when it comes to alcohol, and right now I'm actually trying to limit my alcohol intake. And right now I'm actually removing alcohol completely for the next upcoming 6 months. And I got inspired to do this because there's several people like Stephen Bartlett and Chris Williamson that are encouraging people to stop drinking alcohol for a period of time, and they recommend at least 6 months, and then evaluate and see how you feel. But the thing about alcohol is that, of course, there's calories in alcohol. So like if you have beer, for instance, there's the carbs and also the alcohol itself. But not only that, like alcohol tends to raise our appetite because it limits our impulse control. So we usually tend to eat more when we are under the influence, but also afterwards, like, which you of course know if you've been drinking and you felt hungover the next day. Like there's nothing that tastes better than a pizza after going out. So limit your alcohol intake and keep control of your alcohol intake is of course a very effective way to manage weight. Lastly, I wanted to talk about resistance training. What a lot of people do wrong when they lose weight is that they don't resistance train. And that means that most of the mass that they are losing are actually muscle mass. And this goes back to the metabolic adaptation that we spoke about before, because the more muscle mass you have, the more calories you're gonna burn during the day. And if your muscle mass goes down, then of course your metabolism is gonna go down as well. And this is especially important for people that are on GLP-1s like Ozempic. So if you are losing weight, for the love of God, please resistance train. So if you have watched this far, you have already taken tremendous steps in getting in shape again. So if you found this video useful, liking and subscribing really helps me to get this information out to people who need help with managing their weight. And let me know in the comments what your biggest challenges are when it comes to managing your weight. And if you want to get started with resistance training but feel anxious about taking the first step, then I recommend watching this video where I talk about my own gym journey and how I overcame my gym anxieties. And I'll see you in the next one.